Hi everyone, McBeard here. Welcome to another card review session. We got 8 huge cards from the developer stream. It just happened 26 minutes ago. Well, it started 26 minutes ago. And there's a lot of cool cards to talk about. Filling in stuff for Syndicate and Skellige, not Nilfgaard. And also we got 2 new Monsters cards and a scoia'tael card. Plus the 3 cards from yesterday, which I'm going to cut in right now. So I'm going to talk about those cards, and then we're going to start talking about these brand new cards, my friends. The amazing show continues here. This is the Tursark Invader finally getting a card for the artwork that we saw in from GWENT Open number 1. You can see the issue here. The number for the strength and the number for provisions were mixed up. It's a 5 strength unit at 4 provisions with Veil and Veteran. So in round 3, this card is a 7 strength veiled unit. It's possible that veterans have some other interaction. It is veteran, like definitely this is something that we've been very interested in since it left the game. Veteran. Gains 1 base strength each round. It makes for some very interesting opportunities because you're putting, I mean, for 4 provisions, it's more than you would usually get, although Skellige tends to do really well at 4. It's also probably a warrior, which means that War of Clans looks much better in round 3. If you've already played this card. But it seems like if you wanted to play War of Clans and Freya as well, you would just want to just play like as many warriors as possible early, like less spells, more warriors, and then bring them back for much more value later. And it seems like the value seems like it'll be there later. I feel like you definitely would want a longer round because you don't want to just keep your bronze reses and then not play any other good cards. So that seems like that's not good, but it also means that it might be a lot harder to bleed Skellige in round 2 because they would just easily be able to access all these things from their graveyard, and they're significantly better the second time they're played. But I think that there's really not a lot to say about this card. It seems very stock. It's just a stock representation of the new veteran mechanic. This is a little bit more interesting though, the Drummond Villager, because this looks kind of like the pyrotech of this faction, but unlike Dwarven Pyrotechnician, like look how good Veil looks now. All you have to do is give bleeding to a veiled unit, and then you get potentially an 8 for 4. Oh man, that's good, right? That's likely competitive. All you need is Veil. And now this girl starts to look like the proactive play that would enable this girl. So these 2 girls, best girlfriends, they both like axes. For all we know, this could be a before and after. But the pair of them make a great pair. Make a great pair. Very, very similar to the Damned Sorceress Kedweni Knight, but much better than that because of the cost, the value you get, because you are also getting 5 points here. So that's a tidy 13 points for 8 provisions. It's kind of awesome. Just seems awesome. It seems like it might be pretty awesome. And then Shinmiri, oh god, don't stare directly at this one. Whew, this is an ugly one. Blood Eagle. Damage an enemy unit by 2 and then play a warrior from your deck with provision cost 8 or less. Death Blow, play any warrior. Bloodthirst 3, always trigger the Death Blow, and this card has Echo, so you can play it again in subsequent rounds after the first round you play it. So this seems quite excellent because a Devotion deck is not going to run Royal Decree. So this is a 10 provision tutor for almost anything in your deck if you are running warriors. And since the devotion cards are adhering, or they care about the archetype that's coming out with the set, you would think that any good devotion cards are going to be warriors or care about warriors. So I think this card is likely fantastic because, I mean, it's a tutor for 10 that you can play twice. You thought Oniromancy was good. This is not much worse than that, and it's 2 provision cheaper, and you get to play Devotion with it. I mean, also giving bleeding, like giving bleeding to something with Berserker is good. Obviously, giving bleeding to like one of Herald's Skulls is really good. You don't even have to have a veiled unit. It's gonna be like a veiled unit's gonna have a lot of synergy with anything in Skellige that gives bleeding to your own units. Like, that's just good, right? So anyway, Oniromancy is the card I was talking about. So this is play any card from your deck at all. I guess that's much, much better. Yes, that's much better. Because this is not limited to a unit either. Any single card with Echo. This is going to be one of the biggest draws to not play Devotion, honestly. I'm interested in this card a lot. It is an expensive card, but it is basically allowing you to play your best 2 card. If you ever see this card, you get to play your best 2 cards in different rounds. It might not be worth it. It might be too expensive. The more I look at these cards and the more I see the faction support, I just think it might be too expensive. Wait, is Fergus back up to 7 again? I knew that, didn't I? Hey, oh. All right, dudes. What do you guys think of these ones? Poor Villager. Yeah. Yeah. All these powerful death blows. I mean, the death blows they're powerful, but they're at 2 and 3, which is not always great. So you would need to have onboard pings as well. Again, Skellige is able to do that, and Onslaught is also a leader that can get this reach. So Onslaught will likely be very good at triggering death blows, but, you know, people don't like that very much. 2 tutors for 12, yeah. For 12, for 10. Echo card, yeah, the Echo cards are the best cards in the set, by far. The evolving cards are going to be very strong, but I think that the Echo cards are going to be the most interesting and highly played cards in the set. They are very good cards, and they're going to feel like scenarios. It's going to be like everybody's going to be playing their Echo card. I think. I'm pretty sure. All right, the new cards. Lieutenant Von Hurst. 8 provisions for a 4-strength Firesworn unit with 1 armor. Horde 5, at the end of your turn, spawn a Firesworn Zealot in this row. Fee 1, transform a Firesworn Zealot into a Flaming Rose Footman. This card, much like the Firesworn Cleric, which we see here, is just a card that does it all, right? And also is very similar to this card because they both have the same fee. So the fee is present on both gold and this card, which is good in a game where you don't have 3 or 4 copies of all your cards. So you have to actually hit your gold cards, and the round you use them, really important. So if you just wanted to play this guy for his fee, you wouldn't do it, but you play him for his horde effect. So this means that it's an engine not just because he's producing tokens, but he's also proccing anything that cares about things that get spawned. And of those, the Sacred Flame, also the Eternal Fire Priest, and also our new best friend. Where is he? Our new best friend, the Fallen Knight, who is actually apparently stronger than I thought. Boost self by 1 for each unit spawned. That means Congregate boosts this dude by 3. Look out. This card is terrifying. This card actually is very scary to me. Especially when we see the support he has here. So this card I think is very good for its cost. So you're paying Borsodi bucks for this card. Now, Borsodi obviously does a lot for you. But I would say that this guy does about as much, if not more, than the Dire Doggo. And I think for that reason, he's very well priced. He also has a little bit of extra built-in protection. And he gives you like pretty decent value right away, considering all the things that care about the Zealot. All the things you can do with the Zealots now. So I think For sure, this guy is going to be played in a deck that cares about him. He's awesome. Lieutenant Von Hurst. And now we have Roderick de Vet, not to be confused with Joachim de Vet or Roderick, both of which are Nilfgaard cards. We now have Roderick de Vet, who may be related to our good friend Joachim or Joachim. Now, this guy is also a pretty good card. Roderick is 4 strength with 1 armor at 7 provisions, and he comes protected with Veil. He has an order that spawns a Flaming Rose Footman in this row, but if you haven't used that order at the end of the turn, gain 1 coin. Another card that is doing a lot. So what I really, really like about all these Syndicate cards that we're seeing is that there is a lot of text. But Syndicate cares about so many different things, that's important. These cards are doing a lot, and they're doing different things. Von Hurst is a horde card, right? You're not always going to be you're not always going to be loaded with money. But we're going to have lots of money going around, I'm pretty sure. So this is like, you could say that this is like a key word because the Skellige card also has a similar effect. You could say this is like order, spawn a Flaming Rose Footman in this row, patience, gain 1 coin, right? Patience. I like this a lot. I think it's a cool concept. I think the card definitely, it's got a little bit of tax collector in it. It's got a little bit of its own flavor in it. I mean, he's a Veil. He's got the Veil, so you can't lock him and you can't poison him. So he's just going to keep making you that money, and eventually, whenever you feel like it's more worth it, like specifically if you are full of coins and you're just not going to get that value anymore, cancel it. Drop that Footman. Both of these cards are great cards. The support is very much there. The flaming rose looks so good in Syndicate right here. And then we have this fucking card. Oh man, let's talk about this card. This card is very interesting because it's a 4 provision bronze card. This card is a 4 strength unit with 2 armor and immunity. On deploy, destroy all Firesworn tokens in this row, and then boost self by the sum of their power. This card has immunity because it's clearly countered by a lot of stuff. Now, my first thought is it's easily countered by a lot of stuff because maybe it's 4 provisions and that's okay. You're using them to get some room. But the immunity is a nice touch. It makes me really wonder about how they balance this card. They use some of the budget is like, look at the budget, right? The budget is rock bottom, and they still were able to make a 4 strength card with 2 armor. The armor is free, right? Isn't this armor free? Like the effect is free, or the armor is free. I mean, the armor is no value. The effect technically is no value either. But there is a lot of value in cleaning up a row for Firesworn. Believe me, I've played a lot of Firesworn. This effect is greatly appreciated. But the trap here is you don't want to use them and then just get countered by like an EREDIN or like a Siegfried and then something that kills it later. So you just like want to clean up like 3 tokens. That's probably all you really need. But you have 2 of them as well. So that's 3 tokens per row. This guy is a lonely champion against the Salamandra, I guess. It looks like they're Salamandra, like fiends. It's such a huge enabler. It's such a huge enabler and support card for Firesworn that it's really hard for me to wrap my head around the fact, is this broken or actually super smart? But it is strong. There is no doubt, because it does everything you need. You need this utility in Firesworn. And he is protected. And the 2 armor is really weird because he's immune. This is a Reddit complaining card. Yeah, but this definitely feels more like Venendal than anything else does. I think I want them to just, I don't want anything to change about this card. I am willing to give this card a chance. It gains you the points in a way that previously only monsters could really do. What about Footmen because they are classed as Firesworn and they are tokens? Yes. The Flaming Rose Footman or Zealot. So really, you could see this. This could be a closing card for Helvide. So you use Helvide, you fill the row, and then you use the only champion on your last turn for last say. And then you somehow make money and fill the row again. So you're still limited by, like, Helvide still needs the money. But it just means that you really don't have to think too much. You don't have to think as hard about the position because that deck was really held back by the row room. But I think that if you invest too much in this card, you pay for it. But freeing up a row to get those extra couple of units out of like the token, like extra couple of spawn units, it is dangerous, right? It's dangerous to use this late. Unless you have last say, in which case it isn't at all. So having like, I don't think you'd necessarily, like as a card, if you go to play this card early, it is about as bad as a 4 provision card is. Like let's say you play Congregate and then you gobble up the priests and then that's all this card does. So it frees 3 row slots, but otherwise does nothing, but it won't be killed, let's say. That's like still kind of like, okay, like what if there is a reset for this guy in that case? I don't know. I just think that I really need to see this one play out. This is a very hard one for me to evaluate. I don't think it's broken though. I just don't think it's broken. But I will say that the benefit that this card offers is extreme. Let's ask this question. Is giving Syndicate unlimited row space broken or not? Given that this proposal doesn't carry over to a card like Talisman because Talisman, this is actually counter Talisman. Yeah, you don't Yennefer. You can't Yennefer. This card might be one of the coolest cards. This might be the most this is a controversial card because the other cards with controversy got nerfed, right? Amnesty got nerfed, but the controversy of Amnesty is that it was busted. So that wasn't so much of controversy. This one is not busted. This card isn't busted, but this card is certainly interesting. It's a 4/4, but it is for round 3, Parapain. You make room. I love it. Let's move on. It's not busted, but it's not bad. That's why I think it's great. That's why I think the card's so great. So here we have the other Patience. So this is Skellige's Patience card. Again, it's 7 provisions, 4 strength with 1 armor and Veil. With Zeal on order, split 3 damage randomly between enemy units on a row. So you pick the row. So if there's only 1 unit and has 3 strength, you kill it. But with Patience, you damage a random enemy unit by 1 anywhere. So what card does this? So this is kind of like a Trebuchet, isn't it? It's kind of like a Trebuchet that has like an overdrive. And I think for that reason, it's probably going to be good because Trebuchets in general have been nerfed since the beginning of time. Just nerfed since the beginning of time. Now, this is obviously a lot more expensive, but you have a big upside. It's a protected card. She's likely a warrior. And she can be played with Blood Eagle. So you'll always see her, right? So I think this card is actually fantastic. This card's a fantastic engine. I feel like engines at 7 have done quite well, of which there are only 5. But Skellige is not a faction with one of these cards. At 7 specifically. So Immortals, you could say, is kind of an engine. Xavier, you could say, is kind of an engine, but all of these are engines that can be turned off. And Draga is kind of an engine at 7, but, Then you have the Beast, which is great. Sees play in almost every monster's deck, and Saul has been pretty good, right? Saul has been pretty good. So I think that if we're just looking at it, because I like to look at these cards like, I like to look at all of it. All of it. I think that I definitely don't see a problem with the effect for its cost. I think that it's definitely hitting all the right notes, and it's good. And I think it sees play. I think it's a good warrior. Engines are going to be big removal bait, and this is going to be hard to remove. It's going to be so annoying because you're going to have to use some removal on it, right? Or lock it. Whoops. You know what I mean? So offensive Purify. I hope that there's more Purify options. I also I feel like the end of turn ability should shut off when you move it. Because it should be weak to something, right? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't have to be. You can only use the order on melee, but otherwise it's always ticking. Immortals doesn't. That's very true. That is very true. Immortals doesn't. Yeah, great art, and you can see the on-crate longships. You can see the end-crate longships coming. So this is depicting the war between the Drummonds and the on-crates, of which the Tursarks offer their allegiance. So the on-crate warships are rolling in, and the Drummonds are like, they're coming! So she's sounding the horn. You guys know, sound the horn. Sound the horn! Drummond Berserker. So another really cool card that caters to the Villager, because this guy wants to take damage, I guess, because he has Berserk. So he's Berserk 2, so that means he has to go down to 2, and then he transforms. So this basically is a longship that you can't control. So shout outs to this card name, Berserker. Typically in RPGs, when your character is Berserk, you cannot control its actions. So this is a longship that you can't control, but also has this amazing payoff that when it hits 2, it just gets 4 strength right back again. It's a great card. It is a great card. Also, like Longship, if you keep boosting this unit, he keeps doing his damage. So if you put the Cultist next to it that heals one side and damages another side, like this is actually a card that would kind of care about that. And then you have the Berserk Clause, which is like so good. Because unlike a Longship, which you can just kind of like hit it down to 1, and it's like, haha, you can't use this card now, or it's like, now it's basically locked. This guy just comes back as a fucking 6 strength card. This card is very good, I think. It's very, very good. It's very, very good. It's a common too, for if that ever matters. I really like this card. It seems better than Longship, and it's priced the same way. Now, it's also a warrior, I think. The Longship is a ship, but ship synergy does not look anywhere near as good as fucking warrior synergy. Warrior synergy is coming with the total package. It's like, you want warriors? You get the warriors from your deck. You get the warriors from your deck twice. You play the warriors from your graveyard. When you play them, they're even stronger than they were before. And you get an evolving card that cares about warriors. Fuck yeah. Ships have ships and pirates wish. Like, give Holger Blackhand less than 6 strength, maybe. Like, give him the 4 armor armor health package. Give him Veil. Like, give the pirates and ships something, because the warriors are just, this deck builds itself, dudes. It's looking good. Monsters! EREDIN Break the Glass in Case of Emergency is here. Now, news flash. Fundamental Gwent change alert. Frost is now fog. Fog is now frost. Deal with it. That's just it. You know what? I think we're gonna have some people maybe getting their angry tweets ready, saying another fundamental change for Gwent. Maybe not. Maybe people are just like, I don't fucking care. EREDIN's the pimp. Let's go. EREDIN is a 10 provision, 5 strength wild hunt king. On deploy, spawn Frost on an enemy row for 2 turns. Dominance, while this unit is on the board, all damage dealt by Frost is increased by 1. Card is dope. This is an effect that has been around here and there. I believe Wild Hound had this ability at one point. I believe Nithril increased damage dealt by Frost, I think. So this is increased damage dealt by Frost. So this is pretty cool. He also increases the damage dealt by Frost. So if everything resolves, EREDIN is 11 for 10. But it seems like Frost is going to play a big part in Wild Hunt strategy or monster strategy. And I actually think that with a change like this, this could surprisingly, halfway through the expansion, surprise, surprise, this could be, well, by the way, this is going to be a complete rework of Weather expansion at the same time. Can you even imagine if we just tuned in and Dragon's Dream and Ragnarok and Golden Froth and all these cards were all different? In addition to Devotion and all the stuff that they're adding to Master Mirror, that is like a whole core chunk of the set that changes. I don't want to get ahead of myself. There's no reason to suspect that kind of thing. But here we see the Red Riders. The Red Riders cometh. Red Riders is just another name for the Wild Hunt. And when the Wild Hunt approaches, the frost is laid on the ground. So this is the coming of the Red Riders. Spawn Frost on an enemy row for 4 turns, or spawn Frost on both enemy rows for 2 turns. Now, the important thing about this to note is that if Monster's Devotion cares about weather, you don't have to run anything neutral that makes weather. So it looks like there's going to be a lot of faction weather, we can assume. This also has the benefit of not putting all of your eggs in one basket on a certain row. It's very, very versatile, while not really exceeding what we currently have with weather. In fact, what we currently have with weather, this is a really good price. I believe all the weathers are 7 right now. Yeah, 7, you know, just kind of like floating in the realm of kind of unplayability, because you have to wait to get that weather value. And sometimes you don't get it. Armor, or, you know, the frost, or sorry, fog. Fog is frost. Frost is fog. Frog is frost. Frost is frog. Okay? This essentially, in today's world, is saying spawn fog. Spawn fog. So fog right now is a 7 provision neutral. So this is strictly better than that card, and we don't get to say that very often in Gwent. But when this ends up being a devotion card for monsters in an expansion that could care about weather, it could be more than just frost, dudes. It could be more than just frost. This is strictly better than the fog we have in game right now, and it's devotion card. So this card is absolutely amazing. It's just so good. Monsters, 5-star cards. And now we have the monsters. Now we have the scoia'tael card. Oh man, this card is so good. Now, if you're just tuning into the expansion and you haven't been paying attention, let's backtrack on scoia'tael and the keyword that they have received in this expansion. That keyword is Symbiosis. And what happens with Symbiosis is every time you play a nature card, you spawn a wandering treant equal to the amount of cards that you have on the board that say Symbiosis. So if you were to have the other token, so scoia'tael gets 2 tokens. If you were to get a young dryad on the board, or 2 young dryads, or 3 young dryads, or 4 young dryads, or however many young dryads that we are able to produce, if there's 4 young dryads on the board, your nature spell, your Nature's Rebuke, has an additional 4 strength unit that comes along with it. That's amazing. That's better than Regis currently is, you know? Like, you get the removal and the body. That's so good. How easy will it be to get Symbiosis? It's going to be a really, really interesting concept. I think scoia'tael, like, the more I think about this, now with this new card, the Forest Protector, so this is an 11 provision, 5 strength card. On deploy, play a bronze nature card from your graveyard. I don't need to tell you why this card is so good, but I will. Because you might think that this card is maybe overpriced, but this card is about as good as Brathan's, if not better. No, it's better. This card represents a lot of points. There are 3 parts to this card. There is the 5 strength that it comes down with. It's also a treant for what it's worth. Then the card that you're playing from the graveyard, which could be Tempering, Dryad's Caress, or Nature's Rebuke. Waylay is a tactic, right? So that's it. So it's just those 3 cards. So just like Brathen's, this card comes in and gives you an option out of 3, and you could always choose that option. But it gets better. First of all, if you choose Nature's Rebuke and you kill something, you boost this guy to 7. So just like Brathen's, this card comes in and represents more points than his body. This isn't an engine, but it still represents a bunch of extra points. And then Dryad's Caress, of course, this could be your Purify card. This could be like the best Purify card you've ever seen. And then there's Tempering if you're playing in a Harmony deck and you've got your dwarves going. There's so many reasons. Plus, you play it again, so this boosts Gord, who needs to get nerfed. Nerf this card. Nerf Gord, I think. Just make him 1 more point and more expensive. But then there's the third part of this card. I haven't even told you about the value you're getting from Symbiosis. Because if you have Symbiosis on the board, your nature spell procs a Treant. So that means you're getting 5, roughly another 5, but it could be up to 7-ish. So Nature's Rebuke represents 7, Dryad's Caress represents up to 6, Tempering represents around 5, but it could be even more if this hits something like Xavier or something that cares about Barricade. So you've already got 11-ish. You've already got 11 for 11. And then you get all of the Symbiosis value for free. This card's going to be very good. This card is going to represent more points or as many points as Great Oak for 2 less provisions. Have fun! This card is likely the most broken card that we've seen. I mean, it seems stronger than the evolving cards. It seems stronger than all the evolving cards. I think this could be the strongest card we've seen. I don't want to say broken, because I don't actually think it's broken. But I think that this card could easily be 4 strength. This could be 4 strength, I think. This is, I think, the most powerful card we've seen. I'm going to go on record. What other card is more powerful than this? In a long round, EREDIN could represent more value. Xavier Brathen's is stronger. Yeah, so this needs to be in the graveyard. And there are squirrels about, right? So this does have a counterable nature to it. For sure, for sure. You think I'm overvaluing this card? I just have a feeling that those tokens are going to be prevalent. I don't know. You guys think I'm overvaluing this card? I think this card's going to win me more games than any other... I haven't seen any other scoia'tael cards. I just think that... I don't think that scoia'tael could get a card stronger than this. And I have a feeling that every card they get is going to make this card look better and better. That's what I think. That's why I'm saying it's the strongest card we've seen. Because much like how I felt about Brathen's, you could enter this card into the current collection and meta, and the card would probably see play. And then you add all of its support, and it's like probably good. Triss is a 4 strength card that plays would kind of do this effect. So this card is already 1 point better than Triss, if you're even arguing that much. But it's so much better than that. It's so much better than that too. I don't think I'm overvaluing this card. This card is hyper strong. Hyper strong. And that's all I got to say about these cards. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate you tuning into YouTube, checking out these reveals. And it was a big day for reveals. I'm going to have to get this baby out soon. What do you guys think about the cards? Do you guys think I'm way off? Do you guys think I got the hot takes? Do you guys think I got the freezing cold takes? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know in the chat right now. And I'll see you next time for the next big piece, the next bunch of card reviews. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you next time.